Hey folks, Jonathan here. Working on the record bed a little bit, doing a lot of figuring on it, and that's, a big part of the job. And once we get everything the way that we want it, and we can roll on with it. But one of the things I've got to do, I'm not actually going to use this bed at all. I'm going to unbolt, from the turret, from the bed, and just use that up. So we're going to build the bed. But what I've got to do is run a subframe on my truck frame. And I can go with 2x4 or 2x6 tubing, something like that, and we will have plates on the side of it running down to the side of the frame, to bolt it in good. And we'll probably weld to the subframe, but we're not going to, of course, weld to my truck frame. I'll bolt everything. But what we've got to do now, I want to go ahead and get the slide rails ready, and just in case I decide I want to go with a 4x4 tubing or something like that on our subframe instead to make it easier. But what we've got is, I want to be able to slide this unit basically to the back edge. Now I really wanted to be able, you can see that there's some overhang here. I wanted to be able to bring it up farther, and it's not looking like I can do that, not by much, maybe an inch or two or such. My forklift mast sections are 68 inches. And if you look at the bed section, or the bed, it's exactly 68 inches from the front of the turret to the back of the bed. So that would give us a full track and be able to let this slide all the way until this front reaches that back, and still keep everything inside the rollers, because we don't want the rollers to get out. So that's actually going to give us, if we figured out the actual distance of the cylinder that we need, we can measure from the front of it to here. So we need a 39-inch stroke, 40-inch stroke, so that's just a little over 3 foot. If we get anything longer than that, a 4-foot cylinder or whatever, it's not a problem to shorten a cylinder. You can't really lengthen one, but you can shorten it. So that is not going to really be a problem. And what we'll do, to try to keep things out of the way, we're looking at a 3 foot or a couple inches over 3 foot extension on that cylinder. So, we're going to have a cylinder that's probably going to be 4 foot long by the time we're done with the pin mounts and, the extra. So we need 4 foot from the front of that to the back of our bed. And the reason I say that is I don't want to get it tucked up under there anywhere. I want to keep it out of the way of everything, and that should work out just about right. And I will grab the measuring tape again. Can you believe I lost it already? Oh, found it. I'm the world's worst for that. So we need 4 foot, and we know our bed's going to be 2 foot longer than what this one is, sticking out the front. So basically, if we went from the front edge, which, let me see, kind of hard to get a good picture, but well, you can see that this is less than 2 foot. There's our 2 foot mark, and the bed's less than 2 foot from the front of that to the front of here. So that's going to easily leave us room. And what I'll do is our subframe will actually come 2 foot farther in front of this bed and across, and then we'll build a cross member in with the cylinder, and the cylinder will mount up here at the front and actually go back to our trolley on our slewing gear to turn the boom. But what I'm working on now, I'll show you. Okay, we're getting ready to do some surgery on this mast. And I know I should keep the weight down, and this is probably heavier than what we want, but I don't plan on towing with this truck. This is just a recovery truck, and just building it for the heck of it. So I mean, that's what I want. So sometimes you don't need a reason or an excuse, but I think that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and get this center section out of it. Now, when you cut anything like this, if I'm going to torch this, just remember, don't torch it anywhere in the center. Come out the edge and actually torch it and save as much as you can. That way, if you do need that piece or decide to use it for something else or anything, you'll have an option of having the longest you can. I mean, I've actually seen people do that, would come in here and just cut it in the center, and you always got to be thinking ahead on that stuff. But let me go ahead and get this apart. I think that's what I'm going to do, is use the outside, and hopefully by the time I turn the camera back on I hadn't changed my mind, and I guess you'll know when you see whatever when I turn this thing back on. Alright, I'll show you more. Okay folks, I've got it apart. There's our outside. I did decide to use the outside. There's our inside. You can see what I've done. I just cut it right at the edge. I didn't want to hurt my I-beam. Here's your stops. When you roll this down, it comes down to a stop. You know, to get these apart, for anybody that wants to know in the future, you got to take the cylinders out and roll them back the other way. Sort of slide them together and then pull your wheels out, and then you can slide it back apart. And I just didn't want to go through all the trouble because we're just going to use this for parts anyway. And so we just cut it. But we're going to go ahead and I'll get this moved out of the way and get this flipped over and maybe get it over here and start cutting some pieces and parts off of it. Show you more. Okay folks, we've got our piece flipped over and got it back up here. Hadn't started cutting anything off of it or anything like that. But what we're going to do, these rollers I've actually got, and they all seem to be in really good shape. I think I've actually got 8 of them. There's 2 here, and I went ahead and left this here so I could get these off of it. There's 2 on that one and 2 on that one. I think I got 2 more on the other frame. But what I want to do is build a carriage that actually goes inside of here and rolls forward and back, and then it'll have our plate on top for our slowing gear. And that's the whole plan for this. And we'll probably back here, once we get these rollers off, get this cleaned all up, weld a piece back in real good, V it out really good, get a lot of weld in it. It's really not going to be that big of an issue. I'm thinking about actually running 4 rollers on each side. Now these rollers are rated really high because when you've brought everything up, it's actually the weight of what you had on your forklift is pulling against them. And when it's pulling against them, you know, let's just say you had 3,000 pounds picked up on the forklift and you had it up in the air on, you know, the 2 masts that go above this, and then you lean it forward. You know, by the time you add that 3,000 pounds sticking out on the forks and such, you know, you're really putting a lot of weight on these. And so they're made to handle a lot. I think what we'll do is probably build a trolley, and I want to make this successful. In other words, sort of like a rollback is when you take the pin out, unhook the hoses, you can roll the bed off. And we want to make this successful from the back of the truck. You know, we may bolt a panel in and hide it or whatever, but we want to make it to where if we really need to pull it off, you know, we can, you know, take something off the end here, take the cylinder pin off, and then actually roll it out so we can service it, or, you know, change the rollers out or anything we need to do later. I mean, there's no use building it like it's in a steel box. You got to cut it all apart to get to it. But I think that's going to be our frame, and I'm going to go ahead and get the slowing gear and just set it up there, and, you know, show you a couple ideas of what I've got planned. That way you can, you know, see it and understand it a little better. Okay folks, I've got the slowing gear and all set on it, but one little change. I changed the direction that this is going to be. This, where the wheels are at, I'm going to of course cut them off, but this will be at the back of the truck, and this cross member will come out. We've still got our heavy cross members in underneath here. The reason I've done that is clearance for cross members, and as far as I know, this is what we're going to do. So this will actually be the back, and this will be the front, which is kind of crappy, but like I said, I can make this back as strong as it was. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. Okay, now to what we're planning to do here. You can see the slewing gear sitting on it, and basically what we got to do is make this slewing gear, you know, slide 36 inches, 38 inches, whatever that was, and this is what we're going to use to build the carriage. This is some of that 1-inch plate. I think it's 6 inches wide that I had picked up from that machine haul the other day that I showed everybody, and it's really nice steel, and it is 2 foot long exactly, 24 inches. What we'll do is go in and bore these pieces and put our rollers right down. Now I don't know how they put these rollers on. I don't like the whole situation on it anyway, because it looks like they just flush welded the pins on, and I don't want to do that. So I'll be boring, probably going to bore all the way through and make my new steel pins coming out for the rollers to slide on. And I may bore part of the way through, but either way we're going to bore it into here. I don't want to just flush weld them. I really, you know, there's no use taking a chance on that. And of course these rollers, you know, like I said, are the perfect width to go in here. They're just a little tiny bit under, so I mean it's going to work out just perfect. If we get 4 on each side, I think that'll work out good. Now I forgot I got 4 more on the trolley that rolls the fork, so I've got plenty of extra ones. I think there's 12 total. We'll use 8 and have some for extras. These plates, let me move it around and show you what I'm going to do. Okay, you can see how we got the plates sitting in there, and that's our plans. These will be raised up some. You know, they're just sitting in, so they're down low. They'll be raised up high enough to weld a plate on, and we can go back on the inside and gusset it from the sides of these over to the plate. We will then bolt the inside of this slewing gear, because this actually sits in lower, and it's actually sits down lower here, and that'll actually bolt to this plate, and then the other plate will bolt on top of it for our turret to bolt to. Okay, and the only other thing that I know I'm going to do, and it's sort of like that on the forklift mast, I'm going to put 4 in here. Hopefully we can fit 4. I'm going to try my best to fit 4 in there and still have room to machine some slots in it and put a couple of side rollers on it. I want to put 2 small ones like it's on the carriage, and when we're side pulling and it's pulling over against it, you know, I want them to be able to you know, take up some of it and still be able to slide with a load on. You know, that's another thing. We don't want to have to position it and then slide. The plans with this for testing, I've got a skid steer that weighs about 5,500 pounds. Our plan and our goal is to park the skid steer beside it, swing around, pick it up, actually slide it all the way to the rear of the wrecker, and be able to spin it all the way around to the other side, slide it back forward, and sit it down on the other side of the truck. And 5,500 pounds is not a lot, but with the boom pulley extended, you know, that's getting close to being maximum rating on the boom. And it probably is maximum rating on this boom actually, but by the time I move the cylinder and do a little upgrading, it'll be a little better. So I know my 10-ton unit is actually, the factory unit right there is rated at 6,000 pounds fully extended. So this is an 8-ton unit, that's 10-ton. So when, you know, a wrecker is rated, it's rated with the boom all the way in at, you know, a 35-degree angle, and, you know, everything optimum, you know, conditions and everything, to where, you know, that's the max as what they rated at anyway. And so we're going to try to do 5,500 pounds off the side. Like I said, slide it back, swing it all the way around, slide it back forward. If it won't do that, then we've done something wrong anyway. So that's what we're going to try to do. But I'm going to go ahead and get to cutting on this. Alright folks, that was a real pain in the butt. It'll be a little easier on the next one because I know where it's welded at. Looks like it's only about an inch all the way around, but the problem is when you cut into it, you know, it's blowing into that centerpiece. It don't look like it looks like it just butted it up straight and welded it. So we can clean all that off and then grind it and make that look like a new piece. And we'll get the other one off, and I'm assuming they done these the same way. And we may leave them on if they're not in the way, these pieces. This is actually where it mounted onto the machine. But yeah, that was a little more of a pain in the butt than I thought it was going to be, but we got it. That's the main thing. I probably need to do it before I start doing the next one. I need to change the tip out in the torch. I've got a bigger tip that I use for cutting thick stuff, but I just figured I didn't think it was going to be such a pain in the butt to burn off there, but we've got it. We'll go ahead and get on the other one. I don't think I've got a lot of oxygen. I know I don't have much propane, but I got an extra tank of it. But yeah, my oxygen is down to nothing just about. So we can't get any of it until at least tomorrow. So I'll keep cutting as far as I can cut, and then we'll call it a day and do a little wrap up on it there. But show you more. Okay folks, this second one actually cut a lot better than the first one. I run out of oxygen, didn't quite get it, but I didn't change the tip. I turned the oxygen up just a little bit. I think we got it all except for just right at the bottom, so that won't be a problem. Now the reason I didn't cut close, I could have cut the weld off and popped it off there, I understand that, but I didn't want to damage our steel. So we'll do this, and then we'll come back with the torch and clean it up some without gouging into here, and then we'll grind the rest. And that's what I like to do, because I don't like to put gouges and stuff in the steel that I'm working with. And you can see that one, not, you know, didn't get in it at all, so it'll be fine. We're gonna wrap it up for the day, and we'll get some oxygen. I have a feeling tomorrow's gonna be a really busy day. Usually, you know, right after a holiday on the next Monday, you know, a lot of cars, and we picked up a lot of wrecks here lately. And I know we've got some that's going to have to go to the body shops that we're just storing until they're open. So don't know how much I'll get to do tomorrow, but you know, I keep 3 tanks of oxygen. That was the last tank. I hadn't bought oxygen since long before the rat rod build. So. But we'll continue on it, get it cleaned up, and we'll get on them rollers. Tried to pry one of them off, actually one of these ones, and didn't have any luck. I don't know how well they're pressed on there, but if I have to, I'll make a puller that's able to get in behind them and pull them off, because I don't really want to damage them. I think what we'll do is make, like I said, I'll bore holes in here, and I'll use pins that are bigger than this pin, and I'll turn it down to this pin size, and that way I can have a lip on it for the distance. And then we'll bore the holes, put them in here, line them all up, and then I was thinking maybe I can go in between and the rollers and actually maybe sit just a piece of steel in and weld it in. You know, I think with the way we're doing it with the you know, the pins all the way through, I don't think we're going to have any trouble with it. But you know, I'd rather be safe, so I don't mind adding a couple little pieces, so if something did break, you know, it's never going to pull out of there. And like I said, you know, with the cross member down low like this under it, we're going to be able to get everything, you know, supported up on this carriage that we need, because, you know, a lot of stress. So we're just going to overbuild everything, and then we don't have to worry about it. But hoping to get more done, but this is where we stand. So appreciate everybody that subscribed and watching, and hope everybody's enjoying it, and hopefully we'll get more done. You know, it'll get better as we go. And like I said, I think once this fabricating like this starts, you know, it'll be a little more enjoyable for you, and you'll be able to see some work getting done then. But till next time, bye.